Genesis chapter 15 in a fun way. So Abram is feeling a bit worried because he still doesn't have any kids, despite God promising him descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. So God takes Abram outside and says, "Look up at the stars, buddy. That's how many kids you'll have." And Abram's like, "Wow, that's a lot of kids." Then God makes a covenant with Abram, which is basically like a really important promise. God promises Abram that he will give him and his descendants the land of Canaan, and Abram is like, "That's awesome, God, thanks." But then Abram asks God how he'll know for sure that this promise will come true. And God comes up with a pretty weird solution. He tells Abram to get a bunch of animals and cut them in half, and then lay the pieces opposite each other. And then Abram falls asleep, and has a dream, where God tells him that his descendants will be enslaved for 400 years, but will eventually inherit the land of Canaan. When Abram wakes up, he sees that the animals have been attacked by birds, and that some of the pieces are missing. But God reassures Abram that the covenant is still in effect, and Abram believes him. So that's basically Genesis chapter 15. It's a story about God making a promise to Abram and giving him a strange sign to confirm it. Genesis chapter 16 in a fun way. So Abram still doesn't have any kids with his wife Sarai, and she's getting pretty impatient. So she comes up with a plan. She tells Abram to have a child with her servant, Hagar. And Abram, being a bit of a pushover, goes along with it. So Hagar gets pregnant, and as soon as she does, she starts getting a bit too big for her britches. She starts looking down on Sarai and making snarky comments. And Sarai is not having it. Sarai is so mad that she starts treating Hagar really badly, to the point where Hagar runs away into the wilderness. But God sends an angel to find Hagar and tell her to go back to Sarai and submit to her. The angel also tells Hagar that her child will be the father of a great nation, which is pretty cool. So Hagar goes back to Abram and Sarai, and eventually has a son named Ishmael. But the whole situation gets pretty messy, because Sarai is still jealous of Hagar and Ishmael, and eventually kicks them both out of the house. So that's the story of Genesis chapter 16. It's a tale of jealousy, impatience, and the consequences of taking matters into your own hands. It also introduces the character of Hagar and her son Ishmael, who will go on to play an important role in the story of Abraham and his descendants.